We welcome everybody here today to our first of many presentations on using Copilot as an AI tool in your environment. I have the privilege of doing this presentation with my friend Julie Hodges. Julie, say hello.
Hello. Thanks for including me
Hello.
on this presentation.
Well, we're glad to have you. So we'll do our bios in a minute, but before we start, again, this is just kind of very interactive. I'd love to have people, you should be able to click on that language learning models, LLMs poll. If you don't mind just quickly um, clicking on that hyperlink, it is safe, we promise, and it should bring you to a form. And it should just be 4 quick questions. Yes or no is all that is needed. So I'll give you a couple seconds here. This just kind of give us an idea. Okay. Well, let's just break down those 4 questions. 2 seconds. First, we asked, do you know the term language, a large language model, LLM? And if you don't know what LLM is, it just basically it's a data lake of information which the tool will analyze. Okay, ChatGPT, Claude, we all know these terms very well, and these are technically LLMs. So the second one, which I just kind of gave away, is ChatGPT an LLM? And the answer, if you hopefully choose right, would be yes, it is considered an LLM. The next question was about Claude. Again, some people use both, some people just use one. Is that an LLM? And the answer to that question was yes, it was. And the last is Copilot an LLM? And the answer to that is no. Copilot is not considered an LLM, but it uses LLMs. It is the front door into that. It uses ChatGPT, it uses Claude on the back end, but it is the front door. So the answer to that would be no. So hopefully you did okay. Let's just move this along here. So as I said, this is a first of many presentations we're going to do on Copilot. And what you can do with it, the benefits, time saving, and so forth. So we hope you enjoy it. First, just quickly, again, my name is Paul Smith. I'm the owner of Datasmith Network Solutions. I've been in the business for 30 plus years, helping companies manage their infrastructure, security. We do a lot with Microsoft 365 environments, data governance, secure conditional access. So that is this. And my other half here, Julie Hodges. Julie, want to say something about yourself?
Yeah, sure, Paul. Thank you so much for inviting me to present with you on this webinar. So I've been working in the IT industry for decades, which makes me feel so old, but it's true. And I currently specialize in Microsoft Copilot. So all day, every day. And I would just say there's been a lot of announcements lately about Copilot, some changes coming. So it's great to be on this webinar with you. So hopefully I can answer any questions that you may have. And it's just a pleasure working with Paul and his team at Datasmith. So hopefully you'll find value in what we're presenting today and that you're going to be able to move forward with your AI strategy for your own company.
Right.
So let's get into it. For the agenda today, just want to quickly go through it. You can read it. So, we're going to explore Copilot capabilities across Microsoft 365, showing you what it can do in your everyday apps. Then we'll dive into critical steps for environment readiness and deployment strategy, and also discuss real-world ROI and measurable outcomes that you can expect, and why deployments sometimes fail and how to avoid pitfalls. And finally, we'll equip you with ready-to-use prompts and best practices to see immediate value on your investment. So let's kick things off by looking at what you need to have in place before you even think about deploying Copilot. Now, before you deploy Copilot, it's crucial to ensure your environment is ready. This isn't about just flipping a switch. It's about laying a solid foundation. We're talking about clean, organized data, proper permissions, and robust security. And beyond the technical side, user readiness is key. You need a clear change management plan, strong governance, and a framework to measure success. Without these prerequisites, you're setting yourself up for challenges. So get these right up front, and that will make the difference in realizing Copilot's potential. And speaking of potential, let's look at the measurable impact Copilot can have. So on this slide, you can see all these big numbers. So just want to sort of quickly go through it instead of draining the slide. But as you can see, having a Copilot deployment in your environment, it is measurable and significant and a huge business impact. Now, Paul, I know we talked about this earlier. Is there something that you see or don't see on this slide that you like to share?
Well, it's funny you say, Julie. I'd love to just chime in. And one of the things that I hear a lot with clients and people out in the world is, do you see a statistic out there that says jobs lost? There isn't a statistic on that, jobs being lost. This fear of us losing our jobs because AI, sure, AI is going to buy back time. It's going to allow us to do the same amount of work in less time. So again, I look at that and say, boy, if I can give you back 1.2 hours of your time a week, how would you feel? Feel pretty good. Maybe a longer lunch, maybe a shorter work day. But again, this fear of AI is going to eliminate humans in the workplace. I don't think so. Sure, it may make jobs functions efficient, but to say that AI is going to take over and do all the human things that we do in a company, the answer is no.
Great point. And I would often say, and I've seen statistics, but I'm also that person where they say like 85% of people can't get their job done in a single day, that they're burdened with administrative tasks, looking into different databases, trying to find data, get it all together. And I'll raise my hand and say, I was definitely one of those people. And I couldn't actually do the strategic initiatives that were really important for my role. I was busy doing a lot of administrative stuff. And this is where Copilot really shines, where you can use it to really cut down that type of business, and it frees you up for more strategic initiatives and just to get your actual job done. So, now that we've talked about the measurable ROI of Copilot, let's dive into what makes that possible. What exactly does Copilot have access to? So you can obviously look around, on that slide where Copilot can, help, and just imagine the areas that it's going within your Microsoft tenant to get the data that you're asking for. So this means it can pull information from your emails, your chats, your documents, your calendar to provide truly personalized assistance. For example, it can analyze your budget spend in Excel or help you prepare for a customer meeting by pulling relevant research. This deep integration is key to its effectiveness, allowing it to provide proactive overviews and help you quickly find content. It really transforms how you interact with your data and applications. So just think of anywhere that you have a Microsoft application and where that data resides. Microsoft calls that the graph, and Copilot has access to the entire graph. And then another thing is there is this, what we call work IQ, which is the intelligence layer that is on top of the graph. So where some of the other models, you put a prompt in and you ask for information, it's going to give it back to you. And it's going to maybe find the one thing that's relevant to your prompt. Well, with Copilot, you put in a prompt, it's going to draw from all of these areas. It's going to see maybe you had an email 3 months ago, but things have changed since then. So it's not going to give that back to you. It's going to look at the most relevant information that you need, that you can use that to make decisions with this customer. And it's going to, again, like I said, take the information from Teams chats, from emails, from Teams meetings, and SharePoint, all of that information, and we'll get into prompting. And the key to getting the right outcome is definitely prompting. And just want to share with you, obviously, one of my favorites aspects of Copilot is this facilitator agent. So I would literally pay for Copilot myself if my company didn't pay for this for me, depending on what type of licensing you have. It could be, $1 a day. So would I pay $1 a day to have this agent in meetings because I'm in meetings like this, probably 3 or 4 hours a day? The answer is yes. So, one of a powerful role is this facilitator in meetings. We all know how much time can be lost in unproductive meetings, right? So Copilot aims to change that. It acts as a meeting agent, driving the agenda and ensuring everyone stays on track. It generates real-time notes, catering input from all participants, and can even answer questions instantly to foster better collaboration. So this means less time spent on administrative tasks and more time on productive decisions. And it doesn't stop there. It tracks the tasks, drafts, documents, and records, records key decisions, and simplifying follow-up and ensuring nothing falls through the cracks after the meeting ends. I'll just share that I'm in meetings back to back. I make promises or people say, hey, Julie, can you follow up with this? Can you send this? And I'm always like, yeah, I'll do it. And then maybe I go right into another meeting and I don't have time and I forget what I've already promised. But with the facilitator agent, you get a Teams meeting recap. You can see who was assigned what and everything that's in that meeting. So that is no longer a concern for me.
I think, Julie, one of the last thing we want to talk about on this too is that you ever had those chronic people that have been late for a meeting, right? They've come in 5 minutes late, maybe their previous meeting ran late. Now you've kicked your meeting off and so forth. And the last thing you want as a facilitator have to do is stop the meeting to say, Julie, I'm sorry you're 5 minutes late. Let me just get you up to speed. Now, you, who were the on-time attendee, has to listen to a summary. That person has the right to go into the notes and type, what have I missed? And AI will automatically, or Copilot will automatically summarize what has already been said without disrupting the facilitator. Again, just another added benefit of having this tool.
Yeah, also another one of my favorite features, because you never want to announce when you're late and then you're like scrambling to find out did they already go over stuff you need. So thanks for that. And so how do we know it works? Microsoft's drinking our own champagne. We are using Copilot. Everybody is using Copilot. And, just look through the names of, all the highlighted departments that are using Copilot. So that even is one point, is that it's not just IT, where a lot of people start and they think, hey, we'll have our IT person try it out, kick the tires, things like that. Copilot can be effective in basically any area of your company. And then this is what we'll get into, where you need to choose who's getting the licenses, identify some quick wins, what the outcomes that you're looking for. And, you can see some pretty high numbers of efficiency gains in all of these areas.
Julie, one thing that I would like to add too is look at the 3 departments that you would think, if security was a concern, why would these 3 departments be leading the charge in AI usage? Finance. That's the number one thing that we protect the most, right? Nobody gets access to my financial numbers. That is not a bad stance to have, and we hope that all of you on this call have that stance. But yet finance is finding 60% benefit of using Copilot. Human resource, again, another sensitive area, keeping employee data safe, 42%. And again, here's the IT manager saying, hey, listen, we're not going to deploy it. It's not safe for us to do it. Well, they're leading it with 36%. So again, just that alone, those 3 departments tells you if it really was a big security concern, why are these 3 departments leading it? Certainly, there's security that we have to talk about, which we will later on, but this just kind of gives you an inkling as to who is really benefit from using the tool.
Great points, Paul. So we've put together a list of the top 10 things to try first when you get Microsoft Copilot. These are proven starting points that deliver immediate value and help users quickly grasp Copilot's potential. It's hard if you get a Copilot license and you don't have any training or any information like this, you don't know what it can do. You don't know what you don't know. And so, one of the things that you can work with Paul and his team at Datasmith is going to be maybe some post-sales training or AI readiness. And this is a great first start. The top 10 things to try first when you have Copilot. Now, Paul, do you have any insight into how you are using Copilot to help with your day?
Well, my team and I, we're absolutely, again, Julie, we talked about it, but just recapping a meeting. Again, never take a note. Now, one thing I will tell you, and we have been commenting on, and I have forced this on to my employees and asked them, I believe that it's right for us to not turn on Copilot when you first kick off the meeting. So as everybody comes in, you say to them, hey, welcome. I'm going to start this meeting. Would you be okay if I turned on Copilot to just take notes for me? I think still that courtesy of telling people that you're going to record a meeting. I think today we have gotten a little bit off kilter on that, and people are just turning on their note takers and recording anything and everything, forgetting to turn it off. So private conversations may be had, and the note taker is still taken. So I always say, err on the side of caution, but I massive, massive benefit from that, because from there I can then say, hey, draft an email to everybody summarizing that. So I could take recap. I can go right into draft an email. Help me write or help me compare. You've had those multiple documents and you're like, God, I want to just make one master document from all of these revision docs that I've created over time, and feeding that into Copilot and saying, hey, can you please summarize all these documents and then create one master document? Again, think about the time it would take just to read everyone, make the red line edits, right? Start crafting a new one as you're looking down at all the other ones, multiple monitors and 3 monitors now because you want to spread all your spreadsheets across all of them. Again, Copilot just really just helps summarize that, creates one document, and so forth. So those are just a few of the things that we love using Copilot for.
Great. I mean, that's great information, and I'm with you on that. So, the top security and governance concerns. So we did sort of bring up that we have to consider the data. You need to have clean data with the right classifications. As we mentioned, where you saw in the percentages where Microsoft is using it, and finance and HR were really crushing it. You really need to think about, prior to an AI, a Copilot deployment, you need to think about these few things. So, data oversharing and data links. So that's going to be like the famous, hey, like what does Paul Smith make? Like what's the CEO owner make? What's his salary? Here's the thing. If prior to Copilot, if you did not have access to that data, once you turn on Copilot, you still do not have access to that data. But there could be in some ways, and I feel like everyone agrees that the data, once everyone gets started, you're creating your own team sites and SharePoint files. So maybe not everyone's doing the correct classifications, sensitivity labels. So maybe HR might have that locked down, but someone else might have had it and just saved it in some other file that's not classified. So if you turn on Copilot and it's not properly classified, anyone who puts that question into Copilot may get an answer. So that's why you're going to work with the Datasmith team to make sure that your data is ready for Copilot. Now, the other one in the middle is identifying risky AI use. So I would just share with you, and maybe, I don't know if you want to do like a raise a hand or not, but if you think that people in your organization are already using some version of AI, and I don't know if anyone will raise their hand if you think that they are or they're not, but I'll get to the answer quickly. The answer is they are. And so that's something you need to consider, because if they're using the free, they're using ChatGPT, they're using Anthropic, they're Gemini, if they're uploading any company information that is being used to train the model, sort of how we like kicked off with asking, like, is it a large language model? Does it train the model? If they're using those other AI tools, the likelihood is that things that they're doing is going out to train the model and is now out for anyone to be able to get that information from you. And using Copilot, that doesn't happen. Paul, did you want to add any information on that?
Just two things that I loved to say. Number one is that if you are not willing to copy and paste sensitive information into a social media chat or a public email, it's probably not safe to send it up to an LLM like ChatGPT and Claude. Now, what's happening is that AI usage policies are not being written. Computer usage policies, we used to talk about that a long time ago, that was written, right? But AI usage policy, what tool do we want you? What data can you share? These are not doing it. I will tell you this, okay, in summary, Copilot does not create a security problem. It exposes security problems that already existed. This is why that a company like us who actually, know 365 very well, all the settings are in the tenant, okay, not on Copilot. So you don't go to Copilot and turn on security settings. Copilot inherits the security settings that are within your tenant. And there's a lot to choose from. And I wouldn't expect that anybody comes and tries to Google what security things I should turn on or turn off. Leave it to somebody like us that knows what to do. So that would be my two things.
All right, thanks. And then, what does Copilot have access to? I think I've already gone over that. I've called it, fancy words, the Microsoft Graph and this Work IQ. But as you can see here, basically, Copilot's going to have access to whatever you have permissions to see in your organization. So again, like I said, if you didn't have access to it, turning on Copilot doesn't give it to you, but it does have access to all the things that you currently have permissions for. And then removing the first blocker. So just think, I just want to do a shout out that, Microsoft is built on trust. Sometimes I hear people say like, oh, I don't trust Microsoft. Well, you do, because you have SharePoint sites, you have email, you have all your stuff. No one's worried about Microsoft taking or looking into their emails and Excel spreadsheets. So your data is your data. They are not interested in training the model, getting your data, looking at the trends. It's not used to train or enrich the AI model. And you are protected at every step. You're at every version of Copilot, because there's a couple versions, and Paul's team can explain that what's going to be best for you. But every version of Copilot has enterprise data security, which we've been stressing means nothing leaves your tenant. No matter what you do, nothing's going outside of your tenant. So you don't have to worry about any security issues when you're using Copilot, except, like Paul just said, it's the permissions that were already in place in your tenant when Copilot was turned on. And again, this is sort of just like, going over that again, but your data is encrypted at rest and in transit, has the enterprise data security, it has compliance, has access controls, can be GDPR, HIPAA compliant. So if you're worried about the security, just feel good that the Copilot has these securities. And again, just to push it out there, that if you're using the other AI tools, they do not have this feature. And so the good news for you is that Copilot uses those tools. If you're using Copilot, you have the choice to use GPT or Anthropic. There's literally a drop-down thing where you can click and choose which model you're going to use when you're using Copilot.
And Julie, just one last thing quickly is what we don't want to give you is that automatically with any license that you have of Microsoft 365, you get the full suite, right? Now, some people say, well, wait a minute, smoke and mirrors. There's no smoke and mirrors. But, again, a $5 version of 365 Basic isn't going to give you high-end back-end security, right? Typically, where the data governance, the conditional access is when you start going towards using, premium, an E3 and E5. You do pay a little bit more, granted, but again, the peace of mind that we've been stressing about security back end, okay, that's where that really picks up and gains momentum. We're not saying there's zero security, but there's very little settings on a basic license than a premium license. And I do want to, and again, we'll get more into conversation if you want to have one, but I do want to paint the picture is that the licensing does matter when we get in the top tier licenses.
Oh, great point. And I know we're coming up on time, so I'm just going to quickly go through these so we can get to Paul will explain some of the offers that him and the team at Datasmith can help you with. But as we've been saying this whole time, Copilot can be used in basically any role at your company and will provide, positive outcomes. So I still say when you're thinking about Copilot, be meaningful and intentional on who gets the licenses and identify success criteria. Don't just say, hey, here's some Copilot, go and, Copilot your heart out and figure it out and find some ways to do your job better, faster, smarter. That's not the right way to do it. It's pick the people who have a clear administrative tasks that they're doing over and over again, or maybe it's salespeople going into different databases before they, make a sales call or customer service. So again, those are things that the Datasmith team can help you identify so you have the right process to move forward. And then just want to show you a couple examples with some ROI. Here for manufacturing, a production, that managers spend a lot of hours weekly combining and compiling reports from different sources. Like I mentioned, like maybe there's a couple different databases they're having to get data from for those reports, and that takes hours, right? And if you're using Copilot, you're able to, turn that into just a few simple steps and to get that report. And so, the average, and this is just a low ball, is that someone in that role would save, 4 hours a week. And then here's what that translates to in a month. So just want to show you some real world ROI on the investment in Copilot. What would you pay someone like an actual assistant to you that could be putting these reports together so the production manager can spend more of their time on more strategic things in the organization instead of, death by reporting. So, in a year, you could save, how many hours and that much money. Is it worth the investment in Copilot? I'm going to say yes. And then again, another one here on professional services. And again, I'll stress that these are very low ball numbers, but if they're able, to save 2 hours a week, just 2 hours a week, which I think just for me on the things I use it for, I think I save at least an hour a day in my own capabilities. Just think of the ROI on that and how much time and money that you're saving when you're integrating Copilot into your daily work. And then here's another one on nonprofits, areas where they could be saving time, utilizing different features of Copilot. And, specifically with nonprofits, like saving money gives them more money to be, helping in their particular area that they're doing. So you can, you can see where that would be, very helpful for them as well. The prompt fundamentals I've been stressing since the beginning is that if you want to be successful with Copilot, you have to know how to properly prompt, because otherwise you're not going to get the outcome that you're looking for. So here's the effective layers of prompting. And again, this is something that, we can work with Datasmith to be able to help everyone like learn how to be effective prompting. But you need to write the context, what the task is, how the format or how you want the information back, and any constraints. And I know that seems like a no-brainer, but honestly, I still struggle with being too broad in my prompts, and then I get too much information back, and then I'm like, oh, I need to iterate on this and really narrow down the results. So the faster you can get with narrowing down the results, the better you're going to be at Copilot. And then you can even expand your prompts to have like multitask in those prompts to get everything done. And yeah, you could say, whoever is going to be, let's say you're creating a report, who's getting that report? Maybe it's an executive or a sales manager. So you can write like, as a sales manager, please analyze this data, create insights that would be helpful, put it in a spreadsheet, but make an executive summary like with bullet points. I mean, you need to be very specific, and then you'll be getting all that information back. And then here, I'm just going to turn it over to Paul to finish up for us.
Yeah, thank you. Just quickly, so the right sequence for success. Why does this fail? And a lot of times what happens is that a business owner will make the decision, okay, I'm hearing about this. I went to the seminar. I'm going to buy 2 licenses. And you buy 2 licenses, but you don't create a plan. You hope that the users take off the way that you think. You check in once in a while. How are you doing? I'm using it sometimes. I see some best use cases and so forth. Then you maybe check 2 months later, 3 months later, and you will find that the drop off, okay, becomes less and less and less, because again, we are human. We're right. We go back to what we always know, right? Which was, I do this at 8 o'clock, I do this at 9 o'clock, I do this at 10 o'clock, right? We don't know how to use this tool, right? So how would it be to opening it up, then just giving 2 people, having a training structure, and then implementing that into your environment? That is when we find the most adoption that happens within a company, rather than just give 2 licenses and hope that the people are going to give you back great feedback. Next slide here would be just, common barriers that we hear, people tell us, we're not sure our environment is ready. Julie talked about the organization of data. Well, don't wait necessarily to organize the data. We can give you some, documentation to help you and stuff like this. We're not sure it's worth the cost. Listen, right now, I think, Julie, isn't it true that if you have a premium license, it's only $10 add-on for Copilot, correct?
Yes, that is true. So basically the cost of like a Big Mac meal is you can have Copilot.
Right. And versus paying a $30 license. Some of you know that in your head that it was $30, but imagine that. So that plus 10, you would have premium and Copilot doing it. And our IT provider hasn't addressed it. Listen, I'll be honest with you, the conversation that's being had in our space, the MSP space, is just that. People are trying to make money on it. They're not sure. To me, I'm not trying to make anything. Listen, I am a user first, and I cannot sell what I don't own. So we own it here at Datasmith, and what we're trying to do is get it in the hands of our clients and potential clients and teach you. That's all we want to do, is teach you, educate you, and see you succeed, giving back the time that is necessary. Why do you need a partner, not just a vendor? Again, you understand the type of relationships you may have with your IT provider. Again, strategic, really talking about the return on investment, the benefit that you're going to see, reassure people they're not going to lose their job. These are the conversations we're having, rather than, yeah, hey, listen, sales are tough. I'm at the end of my quarter. Right now, we're offering a sale for $9.99 if you sign up today, and I'm going to give you Copilot license, up per month. But you must sign up today because the offer doesn't extend past, after midnight tonight. I mean, really? You don't want an IT provider that's going to try to make a deal with you. Listen, the license is the license. Let's talk about how it fits in your organization. What are your concerns? Let's address them. Let's see if you're ready to take on something like this, and start with the basics, like Julie said, taking notes in a meeting, drafting an email. Again, I was once sounded like a 3rd grader writing my emails. Now I sound like a Shakespearean author. It's amazing how AI makes me sound. So I thank you, Copilot, for that. And just for today, again, it is free. Again, free. I'm not giving any licenses. I'm just saying, if you're ready and you want to see if you are ready, scan the QR code or down the information below, contact us, call us, or go to our website. Again, we'd love to chat with you, just have a conversation and move you forward if that's possible. And that today actually ends our event. I'm not sure if anybody has any questions. And again, I apologize, we did go over, but it's hard to keep these things within 30 minutes and try to keep it high level. Hopefully we didn't treat you like you didn't know anything about AI. We believe that everybody knows something about AI. I think, to me, what my goal today was to really highlight Copilot and what it's use for, because all we know is this Copilot, and it's not well adopted. and again, because Claude, ChatGPT. But if I said you can have those two tools and be safer, and it's a better business environment tool, and help give back the same return, okay, of time, why wouldn't you use it? It's just a matter of, well, it's just another tool I have to do. I have to go through training. I don't have the time. Again, we're going to give you back time. So if you tell me, carve out a couple of hours, let's learn it together. And then guess what? In 1 month's time, you're going to get back that time of training and then some. All right. And be safe. And listen, business owners out there on this call today, I will sleep better at night knowing my data isn't being ingested in some data lake in the sky and somebody's learning from it. Because I will tell you right now, when you get if you go to ChatGPT, you go to Claude, you ask it a question, guess what? It's taking your data that you ingested plus other people's, and it's making an assumption, and it's going to give you answers based on your data. So if anything, right, you're giving free information to the world away and making them a better place. I don't know about you. I don't want to do that. I work too hard for my information. My information is mine. So hopefully you found this helpful. We are going to go to a series 2, which we're going to talk about AI and then agents. Agents that actually kind of go and do work for us and feed back the Copilot main model, call it like this. So again, automated tasks. So that mundane thing that says, hey, if you start something, can you go out, analyze this? And it's analyzing while we're doing something else, comes back and produces results. So that is what we're hoping for. Alice, I don't know if we have any questions. I don't see any.
Yes, we do. So
We do, okay.
Yes, someone wants to know what the single most common reason an M365 environment fails a Copilot readiness check, and how long does it typically take to fix it? The next person wants to know your recommendation of an Microsoft 365 application you would recommend someone to start with, someone who's starting Copilots.
Yeah, great question. So basically, it's about being ready. Is what basically Alice is saying. If I read that question correctly, and the answer is, again, let's determine the type of licensing you have. Again, as I said, licensing is going to matter. It's not a ploy for us to make more money. I promise you, we make no money on Microsoft licensing. That I could promise you. But what we can do is be good educators to you and say, here are the benefits. Let's talk about that, because I'll tell you right now, folks, I don't know if you've priced a local file server, and that's kind of even funny to say, but a local file server today, it's costing you a lot more money today than it was 2 years ago. And that just, again, market conditions, I won't go into a tangent on that. But so keeping your data within Microsoft's 365 tenant, a SharePoint, OneDrive, but having the conditional access, okay, having the governance, turning on some of the security settings, and then looking at what Copilot you want it to do, getting it out to your departments, training them, okay, writing an AI usage policy, and then having a check-in, making sure that people are adhering to the steps. So I think it would be good. We have another question could come in. This is from Warren. Warren, what do you think on embedding Copilot agent in the Power Apps as internal application? Julie, you want to take that?
I just want to be clear, like if you're saying like the Power Apps, like Power BI and Power Automate, there's definitely, you can, Copilot works in all of that, and you can create agents. I feel like you're typing, so maybe you're gonna clarify in the Canvas app. So I feel like if there's not already a connector built, you can build a connector to Canvas, but chances are there's probably already something ready, already ready to go for that. And so like if you're using the Canvas app a lot in your organization and you want Copilot to be able to get that data, analyze that and all that, that is something that can work. And the team at Datasmith can help you get that set up and make sure you have everything set up properly to be able to get that information. I feel
One
like
thing
there
we
is
can't.
there is one thing to consider is like if there's two different logins, I believe, two different places to log in, there may be an issue, but definitely something that the team can look at and make sure that you could be set up for a success with that.
And Microsoft is building out their marketplace all the time. So there's a lot of common applications, third-party applications that are non-Microsoft that actually integrate very nicely with Copilot. So a lot of times, again, before we're even thinking of it, a lot of people have already dreamt it and coded it, and now they're offering it out in the Microsoft space. So we'd be surprised as to, again, if once we have a good full understanding of your environment and what are the challenges you're trying to solve, we would be able to go back and help you determine the things that we would need to implement for you to make this successful.
Yeah, that's a great point. And I see also Lauren wrote in, can Copilot help me eliminate some of the 75,000 emails from my inbox? Well, that's like a yes and no. I mean, you can actually, create a prompt that's gonna look through your emails to see what's the most urgent that you need to attend to. If you want to get fancy, you can create agents that could reply to some of the very easy emails that you get, like, are you available for a meeting? It can check your calendar and can actually reply for you. But for me, I use it. I know Paul said he uses it. I use it. I summarize emails. If anything's longer than like a 2-scroll thing, I do summarize the email so I can just get the gist of it and know if I need to spend more time on it. And then also every day with like an hour left in the day, I'll say, what emails do I still need to attend to in my box? And it comes up as the sidecar, and it has the links right to the email, so I don't have to go in my inbox and find it. I just click on it and it takes me to the email of what I still need to address. So, it's sort of like a yes and no. But there's ways to use Copilot to help manage the inbox, and like I said, and even answer some of the emails that come in.
I think back to Warren, he was trying to explain a little bit more about using chatbots. Yeah, now chatbots are, again, that little kind of Android-looking figures on websites and applications on screens that basically click on it, says, ask me a question. You ask it a question, and it goes back to the source of what you train it to, and then pulls information. So the answer to you, Warren, is yes. You're talking about a chatbot based on the data specified to only SharePoint list about FAQs. Yes, absolutely.
Yes.
I mean, that is a great use of what you would want it to do. Does Copilot work with Claude? As we said, yes, it does,
Yes.
Paul. You can actually make a call out to Claude. You can actually analyze first, and then you can format your data in Claude. So the answer is yes, it can.
I'll also
I
just
think we have
say,
time.
which I'm typing in, but CoWork, the Claude CoWork, which everyone's so excited about, is now generally available in Copilot. It is not automatically turned on because there is like a billing consideration when using CoWork. That's something that Datasmith can talk to you about. But if you're using Claude for CoWork for that agent, that is now available in Copilot. And then back to the chatbot. I mean, some people talk about Copilot agents. They describe it as a chatbot. So your question about that, like, can we use like a chatbot to go to a certain knowledge source to get that information? The answer is yes, for sure. But like what Paul said.
All right. And what do we think about looping agents?
I'm not sure what you mean
Yeah, and I'm
about
not sure
looping
if I
agents.
understand the
I feel like he's
reference to
typing,
it.
so we're good.
Yeah.
All right.
All right. Well, we'll finish up with this. We'll get back with Warren. But again, we thank you for your time today. We apologize. We went over. I'm going to stop this at a strict 45. It was only set for 30, but I appreciate people staying on and stuff like this. I am happy to answer questions if you're the type that doesn't want to do it in a public chat, you want to send us questions later, we are so happy to, get with you later. Again, set up a call. If you just want to just have an email conversation, we're happy to do that. I'd love to thank my other half, Julie Hodges, today for coming on and help delivering this presentation with us today. Always does a great job delivering great Microsoft gossip and teaching you. And again, we hope you get something out of it. You will get a copy of the slides sent to you. And please, take advantage of it. The journey starts today by just making the decision, am I ready or aren't I? Let's talk about it. It's worth the time of talking, because talking does not cost you any money. With that, I will give you back your time. Have a great day, everybody, and a great week, and we will talk to you soon.
Thank you.